Hey guys, Tyler with Analytive here. Wanted to take a second today and talk about a three-step process that I use, right, to increase efficiency by anywhere from 2 to 5%, depending on how well I'm implementing it at any given time. As a business owner, I get to meet with a lot of other business owners because I work in marketing, so we have a lot of clients. I'm also in a peer advisory group, and the challenges that I see in those groups are the same for almost every business, right? And primarily, especially if you're like a consulting business or you're in some kind of business like we are, marketing consulting, maybe you're a lawyer, an attorney, the challenges are all the same, and really that's the founder's time, right? Because typically if you are the person behind the business, if you're the one who is creating the business, making things happen, your time is most valuable. And so being able to use your time well, to make good decisions, to be rested, to focus on the things that only you can do is going to have a massive, massive impact. So over the past few years, I have been challenged with this as well, is how do I use my time better? How do I actually make sure that I'm doing the things that only I can do? And I realize that there's sort of a three-step process or a three-step hierarchy that happens when I evaluate the things that I do. So the first step is really to sit down and make a list of all the things that you do. And the easiest way that I do this is to look at how I spend my time. How do I spend my time with each individual client? How do I spend my time on tasks, answering emails, taking phone calls and meetings, versus actually doing things that improve the business? Do I spend my time teaching our own team and coaching our own team? So the first thing that I always recommend is to make a chunk, right, something like this, and have many, many, many blocks of time, right? You could have 100 blocks of time throughout the day. You could do it, in 5 to 10 to 15-minute increments. I mean, whatever system works well for you. The fact is you just want to begin to track your time in a way that doesn't also take you a lot of time to do. And once you understand what you do, you want to then begin to label each of these chunks of time with the task or the thing that you were doing in that amount of time. Right? And so when I look at my time, it varies. And when I go through my timesheet, there is things about invoicing. There are things about sending emails. There's meetings. There are so many different things in a day that I spend my time doing. And if you're anything like me, you're probably doing the same. Okay? So once you have this massive list of all these tasks that you have done throughout the day, then I use a three-step process to basically go through and say, how do I offload these from me? Now, a lot of times people will talk about, you need to create systems and you need to delegate, and that's all true, right? Systems are super important, delegation is super important. But here's the thing, if you don't use this three-step process, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to delegate a lot of things that maybe you need to be involved in, or maybe nobody needs to be involved in. And that doesn't help at all. Plus then your bill for labor, right, which is probably one of your highest bills, is going to shoot up. And then suddenly, not only are you and your team not necessarily any less busy, but you're paying more to have people help you out, right? And so delegation is a part of it. But let me sort of go through each step, because I think breaking down each of these steps will be helpful, at least it is to me, in how I think about how I use my time. Right, so once you have the list of all the things that you're going to do, there's really 3 things to do from there. So the first one is to bucket things into things you can eliminate. Right? Eliminate. So elimination, great examples are meetings. Most meetings are simply a waste of time. They're not super valuable. Again, there are always exceptions. So for example, with our team, internally, we meet really about once a week. We meet for a couple of hours and we go through all the client projects that we're working on. We assign tasks for the week. We do check-ins. Then other than that, it's generally just Slack conversations or a quick sort of impromptu catch-up, 5-10 minutes at most if there's a problem. So the first thing we want to do is eliminate any tasks that you have. So meetings are a big one. Emails are another one, specifically email newsletters. Maybe you get all those email newsletters. Well, you have to read those. You have to filter through them. You have to delete them. Keeping on top of an email inbox is really a big challenge. One of the things that I recommend is a tool called Unroll, UNROLL, Unroll Me. and it'll unsubscribe you from a bunch of the stuff you're subscribed to. If the emails you are getting aren't providing you value, they're not education, if they're just promotion, get rid of them for sure. Even if they are education, it's useful to at least think about if it's something you want to keep or not. So emails, and then also what other internal emails can you get rid of, right? Can you maybe move quick questions over to Slack, or can you have someone else on your team answer those? And we'll get into more delegation here in a second. But the first thing is just figure out all the things that you can straight up eliminate. Not give away to someone else, but actually, truly, completely eliminate from your workflow every single day. So once you do that, you have the eliminate down. Then the next step is not delegate, right? So once you've eliminated everything, then the next step, and this is what I think most people miss, is figuring out what you can automate, right? We live in a world that software is so powerful, and it does so many things, from marketing to finance to many, HR, time tracking. Many of the day-to-day operations in your business can be handled actually by software, or at least the grind, right? The time-consuming part of it can be handled by software, where maybe you or someone on your team just needs to spend a minute or two actually approving and doing whatever needs to be done with them. So areas that software help. Marketing is huge. So for example, we do a ton of paid advertisements. So a lot of our paid ads are automated, right? And we have teams that go in and look at them, but we don't have to check all the time. We have checkpoints where we go in and we evaluate what's happening, but we're not in this every single day. Plus now with Facebook ads, you can actually set up triggers that will tell you when campaigns should turn on, they should turn off based upon how that campaign is performing. Same with automating email blasts. Maybe you can automate an email blast from an RSS feed from your blog. So when you post a blog post, then that automatically gets generated into an email that's sent out to your clients or your list, right? Another really powerful tool, because actually creating an email could easily take a half hour, an hour. You have to select the list, you have to copy paste, upload all the photos, add the links, right? That can take a lot of time if you're not doing it well. Funnels, drip campaigns, right? The idea of a drip campaign that you can literally program emails to go out at certain times, super powerful. So I'm gonna keep writing here. Automate. Some other tools that we use, right? So QuickBooks or Wave or whatever your finance app of choice happens to be, that integrates with almost any bank, right? If it doesn't, maybe you should actually think about switching software or switching banks, right? They can pull all your transactions in so that you or your bookkeeper can just go through and label them. You're gonna save a ton of time by doing that. They're not manually copying things over. The idea of automation is get rid of anything manual, right? You just wanna get rid of anything that you can do, or that has to be done, but it can be done with software, right? Because a computer plugged into the wall is going to be way more efficient, way more consistent, right, than any team member that you have. Even the best team members tend to drop things, right? So anything that can be automated, automate. One other quick thing that came to mind, we use dashboards. So before, you used to spend a lot of time assembling monthly reports. Now we can just use dashboards where people can get access in real time. It's not a report that says, from the 1st of the month to the 30th of the month. It's just created whenever they log in, and it's the past 30 days compared to the previous 30 days. Again, all of this is automated. It takes a little bit of time up front, but once it's automated, it's rolling. Same with finance, payroll, sending payroll information right over to your payroll provider. Maybe you need someone to approve it, but you certainly don't need them to be copying and pasting it, right? That's just simply a waste of time. There's so many ways. And the other thing people will say is, well, software is expensive. And that's true. Software does add up over time, right? If you have 15 software packages at $200 each, that's can be a lot of money for a small business. And then obviously if you're an enterprise, it amplifies from there very, very dramatically. That said, software will have fewer errors. So you have fewer errors and omissions, which actually take a lot more time. You don't have to train software once it's set up, right? Once it's actually set up and doing what it needs to do, it's going out there without you even thinking about it, and it's doing what you've told it to do consistently. So before you write off and say, well, software for me is too expensive, I would challenge you to say, look at all the actual costs, right? How many hours does your team spend doing this every month? Because most software packages are billed monthly. And then once you know the number of hours, try and look for the hidden costs as well, right? Okay, so maybe it takes them on average 3 hours to do it, but how often do things go wrong? How often are there errors and omissions and things that need to be fixed, right? Because all of that figures into the cost. Now, if you can get a software package for $50, $59, and $99, whatever, a month that'll do that, that suddenly starts to become a really good investment. Plus, it frees up your staff to actually work on things that are more impactful, right? So, eliminate, step one. Step two is automate. And then once you get through these, this is when you think about delegation, right? Everyone likes to jump to delegation for your team and say, well, I need to hire somebody to help me out. I need to delegate the work that's happening. Yes, but if you delegate before you focus on eliminating and before you focus on automating, you're going to have your team doing things they don't need to be doing, and you're not going to be as efficient as you can, right? So once we eliminate, we automate. And now, only now, do we think about delegating or delegation, right? So, 1, 2, 3. These are the 3 filters that I always use whenever I'm thinking about how I can offload a task off of my plate as the business owner. So things to think about when delegating. First of all, is it a repetitive task, right? If it's a repetitive task that you can't eliminate and you can't automate it, then delegation is a really good way to do it, because anything repetitive that doesn't require a lot of creativity or doesn't change a lot from week to week or day to day or month to month, perfect for delegation. So look at anything that you have to do repetitively. The other question is, can someone do this at least 80% as well as you can, right? The problem I see with a lot of companies in delegation is say, well, nobody can do X, whatever X is, as well as I can. And that's probably true, at least right now. Right? But in the future, somebody will probably be better at you. So can you train, can you coach somebody into being able to do whatever that task is, at least 80% or equivalent of what you would do it? If so, you should really push that off to them and have them start working on it. Finally, one of the things I learned from another entrepreneur, right, Naval Ravikant, is to set an aspirational hourly rate. One of the things that I do to help me think about this is say, okay, what is my time worth an hour? And I set a very high aspirational hourly rate. For you, it might be $500, it might be $1,000, it might be $10,000, right? It could be a massive amount of money. And you say, okay, whenever I think about doing something, right, and I look to delegate, could I pay somebody for less than my aspirational hourly rate, right? So if I say my aspirational hourly rate is $500 an hour, the question becomes, can I pay somebody less than $500 an hour to do this, right? Less than $500 to do this. And if the answer is yes, then you 100% delegate it, right? And there's not necessarily a rhyme or reason to this, but it's a bit of a mental hack that I use where I can go in and I can say, is this something I can delegate, right? And then what is it worth to me, right? If my aspirational hourly rate's $500 and it's going to cost me $10,000, okay, I can't delegate that, right? That's not going to work. But if it's something like bookkeeping, like copywriting, something like that, it says, okay, now it makes sense. I should actually go out and delegate this and get my time back, right? So you've decided to delegate, and so now, what about hiring? And I could do another whole video on hiring, and I don't necessarily have a lot of secret sauces. I'm still learning the hiring process as well. But when I think about hiring, and you think about hiring for a position within your company, there's a couple different buckets that people go in, right? You either hire somebody that you are going to train in the position, or you hire somebody who's already better at you than that position, right? So if you think about a spectrum, you want to hire somebody sort of at the beginning, or somebody who's super, super advanced, who's already been there and done it before. Here's why, right? If you want to hire somebody and train them up, that's great, but it's going to take more of your time, and you have to figure out generally how to do it first unless they're really good, right? So you are actually investing a lot of your time to make it happen. On the other side, if you really want to hire for growth, right, and you want to hire for expertise and excellence, you need to hire someone who's been there before, who's walked in that path or done something similar. So if it's fundraising, right, have they pitched, have they fundraised? If it's building marketing funnels, have they built marketing funnels? For how big of companies? What was their success like? If it's a CFO position, you need to hire a really good CFO. The challenge is you're going to pay for that, right? You're going to pay more for the person who's an expert. So you need to figure out when you're hiring which of these two, because if you hire cheap and expect this kind of quality, it's almost never going to happen. On the other hand, right, if you hire somebody really good and you want them to do exactly what you want them to do, forget about it, right? They're the expert. You hired them simply because they are the expert. So I would say you want to either hire for the task, right, and where you're going to teach them, or you hire for their expertise. Right? And when hiring for the expertise, again, you want to get somebody better than you. So this is how I think about managing my time within the business. I'd be interested in comments below to really hear what you think of it, but this is the filter that I use to eliminate, get rid of the things I can, automate, use software, use robots, use machines as much as possible to get everything done, and then finally delegate. I only delegate the things that I can't eliminate and automate, and that are less than my own aspirational hourly rate. Anyways, I hope this is helpful to you as you think about how to manage your time well. Again, this is Tyler with Analytive. If you want to learn how to deal with some of the marketing stuff we talked about, how to automate your marketing as much as possible, visit Analytive, ANALYTIVE.com. Reach out to me there. I'd be happy to help you out. Talk to you soon.